and welcome to the hard sell where a stick in the swill-bucket rattles back. How about a little...
Have a break.
Well, tough, because that's what you're getting. Completely random selection today, 17th September 1985, and a showing on Channel 4 of the film A Tree Grows in Brooklyn.
South America, Australia, France, Germany, UK, Africa.
Not a massively interesting time to be alive, not a very pleasant one either, along about the middle of the Thatcher years. It was the year of Live Aid and the beginning of the charity industrial complex that endures to this day, albeit increasingly creaky and unsound. Just to illustrate the point, number one in the charts right now is Bowie and Jagger's Live Aid related version of Dancing in the Street. The original Super Mario Brothers just came out a few days ago in Japan, although us Euro Gaijin won't get it for another 2 years. Mexico City is 2 days away from a devastating Richter 8 earthquake, and the biggest film in the US box office right now is Back to the Future. And Steve Jobs just resigned from Apple, and you are there, watching some adverts.
St. Ivel shape.
Well, that's one of the more nonchalantly terrifying throwaway opening shots I can remember. I mean, there was the Green Giant just standing there looking smug, and that was certainly eerie, but this is some full-blown surrealistic horror.
St. Ivel shape tastes just as good as ordinary fruit yoghurt, but has only 54 calories in a pot. You don't have to give up taste with St. Ivel shape.
The Fit family would appear to be the spokes-things for St. Ivel shaped yoghurt at this time. I've seen another one with them ruining a school sports day. This one right here seems to be another of those shortened second wave versions of a longer advert, one with which I'm unfamiliar. If I had it to hand, it would undoubtedly fill in a lot of context and therefore, presumably, actually make the premise work. Viewers at the time, confronted by the shorter version after a fortnight of the longer one, would fill in the blanks automatically. More than 3 decades later, we can't. But then if you told them at the time that people 3 decades in the future would still be watching this, you'd have been locked away while you were still halfway through trying to explain the concept of YouTube to them. So, swings and roundabouts. Or something.
You don't have to give up taste with St. Ivel shape.
Textile World will help colour your ideas on curtains.
Curtains! As good a consumer product to live through as any. Now this is a highly local advert right here. We're in Granada land specifically, and as it's the first decade of Channel 4, it's Granada themselves that would have been responsible for the adverts.
This is the place with the space to open up a whole new world of fabulous fabrics.
From the punning company name to the cartoony animation to the desperately upbeat voiceover, this advert sweats blood to make fabrics, and curtains in particular, seem fun and exciting. And gets about as close as it's possible to get, to be fair.
From rich velvet to the coolest cotton, we can pull together hundreds of ideas on patterns and planes. Ready to hang or made to measure, absolutely free.
And yes, that does sound a bit like the Minder theme tune. In fact, it basically is. They made a few tweaks, beyond just dropping the vocals, but the way I've heard, Gerard Kelly and Patricia Maynard still got the royalties.
And as Britain's largest textile superstore, we can offer great ideas on price right across the range.
Textile World is actually a Scottish company that got big enough in the mid-80s to expand into northern England, before finally overreaching itself and very nearly going bust in the aughties. Last I heard, they were staggering on in places like Renfrew and Stirling. I'm sure if you could find them, they could be so good for you. I'll bite me.
So, if you've a mind to do a bit of window dressing, Textile World will help colour your ideas.
How can chocolate be pink and green and purple and yellow and red?
Only Smarties have the answer was the no-mix slogan for the crispy sugar-encrusted chocolate treat for at least a decade. And this is a commercial that introduced it. Directed by none other than Martin Lambie-Nairn himself, using some of the same technology he and his company had employed for the logo of this very channel.
What makes a body?
How many tubes does it take to go round the underground?
Which came first?
Chocolate or the colour?
When is the hour? Red.
Kind of hard to describe, really, showing the influence of everyone from The Art of Noise to Moritz C. Escher to Alex Higgins. For as busy, as then technology advanced and as complex as this advert is, it understands one very simple thing. Advertising aimed at kids doesn't need to make actual sense. Adults expect some level of comprehensibility, even if you make it conspicuous by its absence, as the likes of HHCL pioneered with First Direct and Tango. But kids are more comfortable with nonsensicality, so you don't need to worry about justifying yourself with layers of irony or sophisticated humour. You can just be silly. And Lambie-Nairn certainly embraces that.
How many Smarties would it take to fill the whole of Wembley?
Only Smarties have the answer.
Super Soft Set 2 is something new. Spray it on wet hair and your style is set there.
Set 2. And do something new.
New wave fashion meets proto-industrial electronica. It's like it's fallen through a time warp from the universe where Patrick Nagel did album art for Cabaret Voltaire instead of Duran Duran. Even the slogan voiceover is an android.
Set 2. And do something new.
Super Soft Set 2 is something new. Spray it on dry hair and your style will stay there.
Set 2. And do something new.
New wave fashion meets proto-industrial electronica. It's like it's fallen through a time warp from the universe where Patrick Nagel did album art for Cabaret Voltaire instead of Duran Duran. Even the slogan voiceover is, wait, what?
Set 2. And do something new.
Oh, I get it. That's why it's called Set 2, because it functions in two ways, depending on whether your hair is wet or dry. I can't help but think there are better ways of illustrating Set 2's two functions than simply running what amounts to the same advert twice. In fact, it's kind of dizzying and confusing. Like the commercial break or maybe time itself slipped a groove. It does fit in with the aesthetic, though, that kind of eerie robotic futurism that was fashionable in the 80s.
Super Soft Set 2 is something new. Spray it on dry hair and your style will stay there.
Now with added space-time anomalies.
Set 2. And do something new.
Whizzo, my favourite. Bratwurst mit apfel sauerkraut.
Well, I can't see this one going down very well in Brexit Britain. I don't know what kind of company could be behind the selling of German food as an abstract concept. The Fat and Salt Advisory Council, maybe. In my experience, that's what German food is. Fat and salt. Giant fat roasted salt licks in fat fried fat. With salt. Oh, and Das Bier to wash it down. Hey, an Englishman can hardly cast nasturtiums on anyone else's cuisine. At least the Germans have one. That isn't just sort of a grey smush.
Schinkenwurst, bravo! An old go Emmentaler on Lambro.
There's Michael Troughton, mmming something he can barely pronounce.
Congratulations, you chaps. Das Bier is on the house.
I say, umpire, what's the decision?
Yes, cat and speck mit Pfeffer, how is it?
I do like me a stuff advert. The kind that comes out of industry marketing boards or advisory councils. Or even governmental committees. Maybe this one came from the West German government themselves. These things tended to be cheaper for stations to buy than the usual branded adverts from big companies, hence its appearance here in the low priority Channel 4 daytime slot at around about 2:30 in the afternoon. Courtesy, of course, of Granada, who obviously would have saved the big money ads for themselves where possible. Public information films, of course, were even cheaper, and seen on Channel 4 a lot in its first decade, particularly in more impoverished ITV regions such as TSW and Border. As for this advert itself, I would like to see it run on every single commercial break until we finally get the Brexit issue resolved. And I'm aware that the world may very well end before that happens.
A hit! A very palatable hit!
German food. Absolutely spiffing, what?
What are you supposed to do? This dirt says hot, the label says not.
Oh God. Remember this from the laundry episode? The grime says hot, the label says not. Hey, that rhymes. Let's say it 900 more times.
This grime says hot, the label said not.
Finally, late Jimmy Young breaks into one of their houses and shoves a box of Ariel under their nose.
What powder can get this clean at such a low temperature?
Ariel Automatic can.
Ariel?
Yes, Ariel Automatic.
Use it or he'll sing Unchained Melody.
It goes further to give you outstanding cleaning even at lower temperatures. See how Ariel, even without the boil wash, lifts out dirt and stains non-biological powders leave behind.
This style of advertising was really getting old by now. By which I don't necessarily mean the semi-realistic housewives nattering down the lens about their washing powder. That, as a general aesthetic, is timeless and will pretty much last forever. No, I mean Jimmy Young, on the soundtrack and occasionally, if only by implication, in person, behind the camera literally hurling the product at the poor woman. Representing the patriarchy quite so explicitly, not to mention unapologetically, was in the process of ceasing to be a good strategy to get the middle-class wife and mother on the side. Especially since by 1985 a lot of them actually have jobs of their own.
The dirt said hot, the label said not, but Ariel got it clean.
This grime said hot, the label said not, but Ariel got it clean.
Not that this would have made much difference to my family at the time. In 1985 we still had a steam-powered, coal-fired, hand-cranked twin tub. We was poor but clean, downtrodden but proud.
When dirt says hot but the label says not,
Ariel gets it clean.
There's more than just orange juice in Libbys Orange Sea. With Libbys Orange Sea drink, you get extra taste from the zest, the part the sun shines on. Extra taste from the zest.
Ah, the classic method of marketing orange juice. Nigh pornographic lingering close-ups of oranges being peeled, orange juice being poured, and the sun being an implacable orb of fire and light that neither knows nor cares that you exist.
Lots of taste, lots of orange, lots of zest.
You're not fully juiced until you're zestfully juiced, with the Libbys Orange Sea brand cartons of OJ, which are different from anybody else's because of reasons, and have so much zest they need to say it over and over with an echo effect.
From the zest, zest, zest. Libbys Orange Sea, the drink with zest.
What hunger is to food, zest is to life. Bertrand Russell. Alright, stop it. And that's Channel 4 on the afternoon of September the 17th, 1985. Fashion tips, washing powder, local haberdashers, and slightly desperate adverts for random national cuisines. A slightly disjointed combination of targeted adverts for the lonely housewife, most likely to be tuning in at this time of day, and any old thing that Granada could pull up to fill the space. They're just lucky they had the resources to actually successfully do so, without resorting to a public information film. Where I lived, in podunk TSW land, this was probably 5 minutes of a random stock photo and the words, "A tree grows in Brooklyn" follows shortly. Either that or crackly film footage of pedestrians being severely injured, which probably wouldn't have matched the tone of the film.
Laughing and singing and music swinging, dancing in the street, Philadelphia, PA. Baltimore, Messina. Don't forget the Motor City.
Hey you lovely people, thank you for watching. Do you want to see these things a week before anyone else? Do you want access to even more video essays, random musings, and absurdist close-down based humour? Do you want to read and help shape my new book about the history of the British Broadcasting Corporation? Do you want me to continue to have food and shelter? Well, consider that one a bonus. Support me on Patreon now. Only good can come of it. I promise.